There's a psychological theory that has a lot of currency when we're talking about Donald Trump and people like him, and certainly a number of people in his administration. It's called the Dunning-Kruger Effect, and it's something that is quoted quite a bit in the comments of this channel. So I thought I'd share it here and talk about how it applies to Donald Trump, and in particular an episode in his administration and a sort of day in the life of Donald Trump very recently. After a very quick word about the channel. I hope you're enjoying the video. As a psychiatrist who's fascinated by the worlds of politics and economics and philosophy, I love making these videos, and if you'd like to see more of them, then please do like and subscribe and comment in this video. What you'll find is that there's a beautiful community growing up around this channel. We're all going through a national and international trauma right now because of what's happening and where our leaders are taking us. And in this channel, you'll find people honestly sharing their situation and their distress, and other people responding with kindness, empathy, and compassion. So please join this wonderful community that we're forming, join in the comments and the dialogue that's happening. Now, let me share with you a graph that effectively depicts in its entirety what the Dunning-Kruger effect is all about. So what we see here is that what it's depicting is the sort of old notion, the age-old wisdom, that a little bit of knowledge is actually more dangerous than none at all. See, when people get to a position where they have a small amount of knowledge, they erroneously think that they're completely competent at something, when in actual fact they're not. In fact, they think they're so competent at it, they have a level of confidence that is higher than those who are actually experts in the area. So a small amount of knowledge can be a dangerous thing. It can lead you to a high degree of confidence that you don't really deserve. Now, this epitomizes the situation with Donald Trump. He knows a little bit of a few things, and that is enough for him to start deluding himself into thinking that he understands it very well. So let's cut to a scene in his administration just a couple of days ago. He's sitting in the Situation Room with all sorts of people who are experts in the area he's discussing. The area he's discussing actually happens to be nothing to do with the area of policy in which he made a comment about, but he's sitting there actually discussing the strikes on Iran and the situation in the Middle East. And in the middle of that meeting, it's reported that Donald Trump then suddenly says, "Can I appoint myself as chairman of the Federal Reserve? Am I allowed to do that?" Now, no president in the history of the United States has ever uttered that statement. No president has for a moment thought that that is something that he could do or should even contemplate doing. You see, the chairman of the Federal Reserve is effectively in charge of a big part of the macroeconomic policy of the US. And it's effectively independent. It involves determining interest rates and effectively controlling the level of the currency. That isn't something that any US president has ever done or ever wanted to do. And the reason why the US has such a high degree of economic credibility is because an independent, highly qualified economist is the person who's taking charge of that role. Now, in the UK, the Chancellor, who's effectively the finance minister, used to have that role, actually used to do some of the currency manipulation and interest rates manipulation in the UK, and the Labour government back in 1997 decided to make it independent, to follow the footsteps of the US. This is over a quarter of a century ago now, in order to show that the UK had more credibility, that actually by making that independent, by making sure that monetary policy was decided on by an independent committee and by an independent head of the Bank of England, then the markets could have confidence in the UK, and it worked. So you see, the US has always had a great deal of market credibility because they've had that independent panel and the independent economist who is making those decisions. So no president has ever thought for a minute that they had the competence or the capacity or the desire, therefore, to ever take on that role, except Donald Trump. Now, there's only one world leader actually right now who is qualified to do that role, which is Mark Carney of Canada, because he was the head of the Bank of Canada for a while. He was even the head of the Bank of England for a while. He was so good at monetary policy that he was hired not just by his own sovereign bank, but also by the one of another country, the UK, as well. there's no question in anybody's mind that Donald Trump would be anything but calamitous in the role of chairman of the Fed. And if he took that role on, the markets would spiral instantly. And that is understood across the board. Not only that, but Donald Trump as the president does not have the power to sack the current chairman of the Fed. Not only that, but he doesn't have the power unilaterally to appoint the Federal Reserve chairman either, because that is a position that needs to be confirmed by the Senate. So you see, that's the situation we're in with Donald Trump. He has a tiny bit of knowledge in a few things, and he thinks he understands it completely. Again, here we are with the Dunning-Kruger Effect. And that leads us to a situation where he has a level of ignorance that is malignant. You see, we all have a level of ignorance in different things, and we can make wrong decisions all the time. I can admit it about things I do in my life, and we all should be able to do that. But for Trump, the level of his ignorance is so much that he's ignorant of his own ignorance. And not only that, but he has a huge deal of power to misuse that ignorance. So I think we can refer to it as a malignant ignorance that Trump suffers from, and that actually all of us suffers from around the world. And this latest episode, in which he revealed it by making that statement, really underscores the extent to which we are all at risk from the malignant ignorance of Donald Trump. I hope you liked the video. I hope you also can join me with more of my content that I'm aiming to make over the coming months and years. You see, this time around, what we're experiencing in this administration is a global trauma, and the people going through it have been asking, how can we support ourselves? How can we learn and grow and share together through this process? So I've started to write a series of ebooks. That's, together with my whole team, once a month we're going to produce an ebook to help us understand better the psychology of the people around us and the systems we're in, as well as our own psychology too, to help us navigate this increasingly confusing and disorientating world we find ourselves in. You'll be able to find those books on russellsbooks.com. That's russellsbooks.com. As soon as you go there, you'll be able to see the growing catalogue of books and hopefully buy any of them at any point. In addition, I hope you can subscribe to my e-newsletter. See, there's a link in the description of this video and also the description of the channel. And if you go there, you'll be able to fill out a form. Once you've completed the form, you'll then be able to get subscribed to my e-newsletter. And that way you can always be kept up to date about the content I'm producing. You see, the fact is that this platform, as well as all platforms, are owned by a very small number of oligarchs. And at any point, they might decide to shut down a channel like this. And if they do that, then, well, it's going to be hard for us to keep connecting. So if you sign up for my e-newsletter, that way you'll be able to make sure that you'll be informed about my content wherever it's delivered and wherever it lands. Finally, I hope you might also consider becoming a member of the channel. If you do, you'll get these ebooks for free every month. So all the ebooks I produce go free to my members who join the channel every month. Also, you can get priority response to comments, and there's also a members-only chat page for higher-level members that we engage in regularly to sort of learn, share, and support one another. As I say, this is a difficult time, it's a traumatic time in history, so many of us need support from each other. I'm hoping each of these things can help all of us create a better tomorrow together. Thank you.